Star Cinema Grill, give them a shout out. Just went there to go see. 28 years later, I've been waiting for this movie to come out for a long time. And finally, after what, 18 years, it finally comes out with 28 years later. Okay, that's cool. I'm not anticipating it's going to be as good as it as the first or the second one, and I wasn't even anticipating any of the characters from the first and the second one were going to be there because it's been so long. So I figure, okay, it's going to be a cast of new characters. Maybe they may do a cameo with the other character from the first one as Jim, Cecilian Murphy. And so I figure, well, you know, I take it the movie's probably gonna be like a 7 or an 8 if they could stick with the original script of all these zombies of like these, this mutated virus that, you know, makes you, to the ability where you get infected very quickly, as opposed to other zombie like movies where it takes forever for you to get infected. I thought, okay, they'll stick with that. That's pretty cool. We'll go from there. And so the movie starts off. They're at this fortress that's kind of separate from the mainland, and they have like a little civilization in there. So I guess it kind of makes sense, right? They're like quarantined, if that makes sense. They find a little island to live on, and there's a little community of people in there. And like the main characters is the father and son. I think his son's name is Spike. The father, I think his name is Jamie, if I'm correct. And so they focus the story around like a father and son duel, and then they walk across this like looks like a trail that leads to the mainland. And what ends up happening is that there's like this low tide and high tide where it covers the trail that leads to the mainland. And if you go during the morning, the tide's low. But if you go during the night, it's the tide's high, so it's hard to get across or to get from the island to the mainland. So basically, they go hunting or whatever, and they go to, I guess, the father wants the son to experience some kills or whatever. And I thought that was okay. In terms of the storyline at first. I thought it was kind of cool. They were killing all these like zombie-like creatures or whatever from the original two that were, infected with the virus or whatever. And then they come across like this alpha or whatever where he like rips your head off, and it has like you still like your skeleton remains still attached to it or whatever. And so I thought that was kind of cool. So like the beginning of the movie was great, and the hunting scene was great. And then once it got past that point, it kind of just fell flat. Just to be honest with you, I don't mean to piss any of you Hollywood scriptwriters off, whoever put this movie together. Sorry to disappoint you, but it kind of fell off after that. After that, the father gets separated from the son, which makes no sense to me. He's just like, oh, they get in one little fight, and he's like, oh, I need you to leave, Dad. And then his dad just leaves his son, and then his son goes on a little secret mission with his mother, which to me makes no sense. Obviously, she's sick. She looks infected with the virus, and he's trying to find some quack doctor that's on the mainland island. And so only to come to figure out that the mainland quack doctor has like all these skeleton heads of all these people who die, and he just hangs them on these little like looks like tower full of fucking skulls. And he's like, your mother's got cancer, so we're gonna have to put her down. And it's just like, okay. And then there's a mutation of the virus. There's where the infected can have a child that doesn't have a virus. So they were able to get this pregnant, infected woman to deliver a child, and now they have this child with them. And it's just like the little kid, his name's Spike. He has the child with, has the baby. Then, the mother gets put down, and then him and the quack doctor team up. And then he's like, oh, now you got to go home, kid. It's time for you to take the baby, and you got to go home. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, this makes no sense. This is terrible, terrible. And then, the alpha, he can't be killed or whatever, obviously, but there was a scene where the doctor like can shoot these little darts in him, and it'll make him freeze for a little bit. It's kind of weird. And then he's like, well, let's just leave until, if this guy snaps out of it, he's just going to kill us. And I'm like, well, why don't you chop his head off while you shoot the dart in him? He's frozen for a while. Why don't you just chop his head off and go about your business? Like, why would you freeze him just to say, oh, well, we're just going to freeze you there, and then we'll just run away from you, only for you to catch up to us later to try to kill us again. It's like that didn't make any sense to me. Like none of that made sense to me. And so the movie started off great. The action scenes were good. They had a little cameo with the guy in the first one with Cillian Murphy, who played his Jim in the first one. He had a little cameo as a zombie where you see him on the previews. He's all looks like he's walking through a field. The kid Spike ends up putting an arrow through him, so he didn't even last 10 seconds in the film, which is understandable. He's a zombie at this point. So I figure, okay, he's either going to be a walking zombie, a walking corpse, or he's going to end up being killed. And so, yeah. And at the end of the movie, basically, I know you guys don't like spoilers, but if you don't like spoilers, don't watch this. The kid ends up, returning the baby to the fortress, and leaves a note for his dad. He's like, "Oh, I'll come back when I feel like it, but you can watch this kid in the meantime." And I was like, "Okay, well, that didn't make any sense. If you don't like your dad, why would you return the baby back to the village where your father's at? That doesn't make any logical sense." And so the kid just goes off, does his own little thing. And then he teams up with this other group of people who have an upside down cross on them, looks like Satanist or whatever. And the little scene they had with the zombies there at the end was terrible. They look like a bunch of Mortal Kombat characters from a movie, and they were sitting there basically like doing all these backflips and all this unrealistic crap that you would see from a video game. It was just terrible. And at the end, they're like, "Oh, you want to team up together?" And he's like, he looks at the upside down cross on his neck, and he's like, "Oh, I guess, we'll team up together, even though my dad's a piece of shit, but I'll go ahead and team up with you." And they just shake hands. It's kind of like, what the fuck? And it's like, so the movie ends, and it's like, now there's going to be a part two. And after digging my research, there's going to be a part two coming out January 2026. It kind of makes you wonder if there's going to be like some spinoff to the Walking Dead bullshit. I hope they don't drag this out and like just, to me personally, what they should have done was they should have had the zombies or whatever you want to call them, mutated creatures, whatever, go and attack the fortress when the tides were low and had the alpha male lead the charge. But they never did that. They never went to the fucking, to the fucking island. They never went to the island. So you just kind of figure, okay, so what was the point of this fortress in the movie if no one was ever going to attack it? I mean, you center the movie around the fortress and the civilization, but they never got attacked. Now, they may get attacked in the next one, but then again, they may not. It's like the movie started off so great. Like it went like this, literally. It went up, and then it just fucking crashed after the hunting extravaganza or whatever. And it was just and they figure, well, the father should have looked for his son. Why didn't he get a search party to look for his son? It didn't show any of that in the movie. Just was just weird to me. I just the beginning of the movie was good. The hunting scene was great. After that, it just fell flat to the ground. Just terrible. So just want to let you guys know that the movie gets you it draws you in at first with the storyline at first. But after the hunting scene, I know you've seen those in the previews where they're hunting in the forest. After that, the movie falls flat. So it's like a 2-hour movie basically. And only like maybe the first, I'm going to say maybe 40 minutes of the movie is okay. It's pretty decent. And then after that, you got an hour and 20 minutes of just them talking back and forth nonstop. The quack doctor talking back and forth nonstop. He doesn't even make sense of half the shit that comes out of his mouth. And the storyline just completely just falls flat, just flat to the ground, just complete major letdown. I was expecting the movie not to be as great as the first two. I was expecting that. But if they would have stuck with the original concept of, okay, we got a fortress here that's separate from the mainland. You got all these people here. Let's just go ahead and have these creatures attack the fortress and have them try to defend the fortress. And that, to me, would sound like that makes more sense. But obviously nothing makes sense, I guess, in Hollywood now when they put movies together now. So they just kind of just threw shit together and just said, here you go. Here's fucking 28 weeks later, 28 years later. And so now possibly they're going to milk it because of the title 28 years later. It's sort of the same thing what they did with Transformers, with the Fast and the Furious series, The Walking Dead, all these other, movies where they just draw them out for so fucking long. Obviously, with 28 years later, they're going to make a 3-part series to this. That's what I'm hearing based on my research. I'm going to be honest with you. The first one, it just fell completely flat. I don't know how you pick it up from there. unless the next two are going to be really good. I highly doubt it, but unless you make the next two good, it's I don't unless they're going to attack the fortress in the next one. Maybe I can see where the steam will pick up, but if that was the case, it should have happened in the first one, and then you should have drawn it out after the fact. But no, you just kind of just the storyline just fell flat. It left you emptied. A lot of the scenes didn't make any fucking sense. Even the skulls they were putting together, that the quack doctor was putting together on that mountain, it made no sense. No, there was no meaning behind it, and it just completely just fell flat. I mean, of course, the main character of the movie was like a young 8-year-old kid named Spike, and I mean, they center the movie around him, and of course his old man, and then they get separate, and then from there it's just mainly the storylines about the kid. Now it's just like some 8-year-old kid running around killing zombies, I guess, for the rest of the movie, or not even really that. It's just more storylines put together amongst him and his mom, previous conversations. You'll see that coming up, or between him and that quack doctor, or a lot of shit that he says doesn't even make any sense. I'm like scratching my head, like, what did he just say? I had no clue. Like, I even tried reading the plot of the movie, like during that scene. I was like, what does this make any sense? Like the quack doctor, like what is his role in this movie? And it couldn't even make sense on Google. So I was like, oh my God, this is terrible. So I don't know if Rotten Tomatoes, what they're going to give this movie. It says 79%. It gave Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 90%. Surprisingly, 90%. Well, if you are referring to the fact that they're going to make a series out of this, I guess it kind of does give you that incomplete fill in of the disaster that the second half of the movie brought you. That's understandable. But if you actually look towards the beginning of the video, from after the hunt, I think it just from there, just none of it made sense. It was just more confusing than anything. And, there wasn't too many zombie scenes with multiple zombies. After that, it was very few action, like the first two, they couldn't even leave the hospital. They couldn't go anywhere without zombies coming everywhere. It left you on the edge of your seat. I just felt it was very empty after that. There was no, oh my God, where the next group of zombies are going to be? Where's the next fighting scene going to be? You don't really see much of it. You just see it with the alpha male, where they call him the alpha. And the very ending of the scene, which looked like something from a video game, Mortal Kombat series. It was just it was a terrible ending. And, I mean, I guess they're going to milk it now because they're going to say, hey, let's make a part two and title it 28 Years Later, Part Two. And so now they're going to go and run along with that. And so, people are going to jump on the name and say, hey, it's part two. They got to do something better because the second half of the last one was terrible. So now we got to make up for that. And it's like, well, I hope so, because, to me, it looks like they're going to drag us along for a while. And I mean, I don't want to feel like I'm watching The Walking Dead, because I've been there, done that with that. And I'm done with watching The Walking Dead. I'm tired of that shit. So I'm hoping there's no Rick Grimes or anything, guest appearance or cameos in this next one. I hope they just stick to basics and say, they're going to attack the fortress or whatever. Completely okay with that. If they want to stick with that storyline, that's fine. But if they're just going to, stick with this crap that they did for the second half of it, and, I mean, the group of characters at the end looked like something off a Marvel film. It kind of took away from the realness of what the movie was intended to be for, especially in the first two. And I thought that they really kind of dropped the ball in terms of the continuity, in terms of how the movie started to how it should have finished, with them attacking the fortress and them defending the fortress. So the fortress really didn't mean anything in the movie. It was just kind of completely, it just throws you off the whole the whole concept of the plot of the movie throws you off. It was just terrible. And if I had to rate this movie, I mean, I guess the first 40 minutes of it, I'd give it like an 8. And then after it fell off, I give it like maybe like a 2. And if you want to average out in the middle, I'll meet in the middle and give you a 4 or 5, I guess a 5. If I could be nice, it was a 5, maybe a 4 total overall. It was just too much suspense. I mean, it really wasn't even any suspense. It was too much dead scenes where there was more talking than more action, more storyline. Remember, to the mom and the son and all. It was just, and then the quack doctor made hardly any sense of half the shit that was coming out of his mouth. It was just terrible, just terrible. I don't know how Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 90. I don't know how you give that shit, how you give that crap a 9 out of 10. I think you gave it way too many points than I would have given it. I think that movie was a 4 out of 10, maybe a 5, if best 5 out of 10. I mean, there's many people in the theaters that I went with. It was like maybe 9 or 10 people. Even they were like, "Did that plot even make sense to you? Like the whole plot of this movie?" I'm like, "It doesn't make any sense, does it?" I'm like, "No." And maybe their intent was, "Oh, we'll make it make sense in the second one," you know. Well, there is no sense to making anything. The sense was is you're supposed to survive an apocalypse. That's the whole plot, is to survive apocalypse, not all this extra crap that they threw in there, you know, and diluting from the beginning of the storyline and separating the father and son. I think was terrible. I think that was a terrible idea, a script writing there. To not have them attack the fortress. You had one scene where the Alpha tried to run back to the fortress and they shot him up or something like that, and they kind of like they hit him with something and he froze. And I'm like, okay, but if he unfroze, wouldn't he still try to get in the fortress after the fact? Why would he run all the way back to the island, to the mainland, right? Even if the tides were low, why would he run back to the mainland only to try to attack later somewhere else completely indifferential? If he's not capable of, attacking anything, he would attack the fortress. Especially if he's alpha, as strong as he was in the movie and as big and giant as he was, you would figure, well, damn, this guy would have the power to just ran through that door and start killing everybody at will, because he couldn't go down with an arrow. No one couldn't kill him with any sort of arrows or anything. To me, the only thing that could stop him was you were to freeze him with some sort of dart or whatever, and then you could chop his head off, which to me made no sense because he was frozen twice, and the quack doctor could have chopped his head off, and then instead he was like, "No, we're not going to do that." No, instead of chopping his head off and saying like, "Okay, well that we don't have to worry about him no more," he's like, "Well, let's get out of here before he wakes up." I'm like, "Well, yeah, but if he wakes up, isn't he going to attack us? So should we kill him now?" It's just like, what the fuck? Like it left you scratching your head like towards the middle of the movie to the end. You're just scratching your damn head. You know, it was just again, I'm not gonna stay on here that long. You guys don't like spoilers, you can go watch the movie yourself, formulate your own opinion on this movie. If that's what you want to do, you can go and do all that. And if you disagree with me and say, "Oh, you're wrong, this movie was great," cool, you can do all that. But to me personally, I thought the movie was terrible. I thought the first half of it was the first maybe 30, 40 minutes were really good. And then after that, the storyline just takes you in a different place and it makes no sense. Like none of it makes any sense. Even the ending was terrible. It was just like, wow, like I just can't believe you guys had so much momentum on the beginning of the movie. You had so much momentum and then it just fucking just fell flat. Just boom. And Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 9 out of 10. I don't know about that. I'd say maybe a 4 out of 10, but 40%. Rotten Tomatoes, you definitely gave them too many points than they deserve. And maybe you're banking off of, oh, well, in the next movie they're going to be better. In the next one that comes out in 2026 in January, and we do the filming like we're already doing, it's going to be better than this one. So you were rating it based off the potential it's going to be great for a 3-round series, and it's like, well, maybe it might be good in part two. Maybe January 2026 it'll be better for the next one. And then maybe the last one will be better. But if you're rating it based on the movie right now, just the movie, it's terrible. Terrible. Like I said, I give it a 4 out of 10, and that's just being nice. If I could give it something lower, I definitely would rate it lower. But the beginning of the movie really brought me into it. It had shades of how it felt like I was at the edge of my seat for the first two. You're like at the edge of your seat. The zombies are coming out, the jump scare scenes and all that. And then for some reason, the storyline just fell flat after 30 fucking minutes. 30 minutes in, man. Just, disappointment. And, so again, it's just, it left a bunch of blanks. And now I feel like they're dragging this out on the name of the movie rather than the actual storyline, how they carry this movie out, the acting, and so on, so on, so on. It's just the script writing. It's just like, well, let's just milk this. It's another 28 years later, part two, And then 28 years later, no, we're going to give you 3 now. And it's sort of like, well, if these next two are going to be like the second half of the first one, you might as well not go ahead and produce that crap. You might as well just go ahead and just shut it off right now while you still got dignity in you. Now, if you want to go ahead and create the next one and it's going to be fucking phenomenal, which my only suggestion is the zombies attack the fortress and you see one badass fucking epic battle, then that's understandable. But if you're not going to do that, and you better have something like the first half, because if it's more of that second half bullshit, you might as well just stop while you're at it. And as sad as it is, I did my research to come to find out that Cillian Murphy, aka Jim from the first one, actually had a lot to do with the production of this movie. I don't know if he had anything to do with the script writing or whatever per se, but the storyline was terrible, man. It was terrible. Interesting signing Nick Chubb. Oh, I heard about that. That is true. Game 7 is on Sunday. That is right, King Twister. You got it correct. I've been watching the finals. I've been watching that shit. I was going to watch 28 years later yesterday, but I said, you know what? I'm going to go watch the Pacers game, Thunder. And then I said, I'll watch the movie today, and I caught the movie at 12:20 because that's what time it started. Now, with all due respect to Star Cinema Grill, I think that's a wonderful place that I went to. And they got good food, good people work there, good experience. So it's not their fault that the movie was not up to par. It's just, they did their job. Their food quality is great. Service is great. I had the chicken Caesar salad. I had some sweet potato fries with ranch and ketchup. So, and then, I had my famous Diet Coke with lemon. So I was good, like in terms of food, drink, experience quality. The sofas were clean. It was nice and clean in there. I have nothing bad to say about them. Their business establishment is very good. It's just, like I said, the movie itself started off great, and then just after the hunting scene, it just fell flat. It was just fell flat. I was just very disappointed, But again, we'll see exactly where this goes in 2026. Of course, I'm going to watch the movie. Of course, it's going to get me hooked on the name. I'm going to go watch it in 2026 in January. Hopefully, from there they'll kind of pick up the ball a little bit and kind of get back to basics on the first part of the movie and maybe kind of go revert back to that. See if they can kind of get a little steamroll in there, because I felt like the second half of the movie was terrible, man. It was terrible. But anyways, man, I appreciate you guys, taking the time. Like, I wasn't going to stay on that long. Just wanted to give a little short review. I'm going to take a nap right now. I haven't really done videos in a while. It's been like 2 weeks since I've done a live stream. I've mainly just uploading short streams. I might start getting back to doing videos again. Just pick an off day, maybe some good topics, kind of get the ball rolling a little bit. Maybe give y'all some content. It's just I haven't really just been into making videos like I used to. I've just been kind of getting away from YouTube for a little bit. I watch other people's videos in silence. I don't really comment. I just kind of watch from a distance. I see some people out there pumping out videos. And I go and I watch them, because I follow a lot of these guys that I follow. And I'll just kind of watch the videos in silence. I won't really comment, like or dislike. I just kind of like there and lurking in the shadows. So I haven't been off of YouTube. I just haven't been really converting much time to making videos, because, to be honest with you, I don't see the point anymore, to doing this full time. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, But anyways, yeah, Eagles go back to back. Well, they definitely have a good shot at it. The Eagles can go back to back. They have a roster for it. It's just going to come down to injuries, schedule play, stuff like that. I mean, the Eagles definitely are a front runner. Are they going to be set to play Kansas City again? That's going to be another story. But yeah, I think the Eagles definitely are in poker position to come out of the NFC again. I think once they've mastered the art of that tush push, and that can benefit them on fourth down situations, that puts them in the driver's seat to possibly winning. But again, it's going to come down to injuries. I always say this, your team is only as good as paper. And then as soon as December hits, you're going to say, oh, well, what the injury list at? And you got like half the fucking roster out. So you're kind of up shit's creek. Oh yeah, that was a good pick. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with the Pickens pick. Absolutely. Yeah. All right, guys. Well, I'm gonna head on out, man. 1 to 10, I give this movie a fucking 4. Hopefully, the next one's better. We'll see.